This is where the fun begins. This is where the fun begins. This is where the fun. This is where the fun. This is where the fun begins.
Who's the big guy with the muscles?
This is where the fun begins.
Who's the big guy with the muscles?
Hang on, can we hear me now? That may or may not work. Let me know. Okay. All right. Yep, you can hear me now? Perfect. Okay. So, let me do that reintroduction one more time. This is Flipp'n Star Wars. This is for this is new show that I'm doing on Toy Anxiety. This is a Doell only show. We are going to we're gonna flip through some Star Wars. We're gonna go through some Star Wars history. This is going to be the early '90s stuff. So this is the first magazine of Star Wars Galaxy magazine, fall of 1994. This is wild because this is before anything. This is before prequels. This is before uh, this is before even Power of the Force is released. And all this issue is, it's done by, this is a Topps publishing magazine, official from Lucasfilm, and it's legit a prep guide for, what's going on, or what's about to happen. And to me, that's absolutely wild. I can't wait. Give me one quick moment here. And yeah, let me get adjusted. Check this out. Okay, so we've got Star Wars Galaxy #1, official collector's edition. Everything that was issue #1 in the 90s was an official collector's edition. Everything. Beautiful cover, done by Ken Stacy. So I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of real Ghostbusters fans, and we all know Ken Stacy was the artist of the uh, real Ghostbusters Now comics covers. So he got to do one of these as well. Just so you know, yes, I need to thank the chat for letting me know you could not hear me. Again, this is my first time trying to do a thing like this. I'm always trying something new. I just did my first solo stream on Gotham City tonight as well. But here's the cover. Here's the fun thing. This tab opens up so it doesn't block any of the artwork. I really wish they all did this, but they don't. It's just this one because it's the first special collector's edition magazine. But they do go on. These are quarterly magazines. They were not monthly because, let's face it, this was 94. There was no Star Wars. I think novels just started coming out. Dark Horse Comics just started coming out with Star Wars comic books. Everything's just starting to get exposure again. So this is, I think they just started writing episode 1 at this point, which is why I think this is why this particular issue came out the way it did. But yeah, let's crack it open. Let's take a look. Already right off the bat, right? Audiobooks. Call this 1-800 number. $75 for 9 CDs in the 90s. Early 90s at that. That's expensive. I don't know about you, but that's really expensive. And here we kind of go through it, right? PC video games, comic books, more comic books, and what's Mark Hamill been up to? Some people don't know. Let's face it, he really looks like Sebastian Stan, or Sebastian Stan looks like Mark Hamill, I should say, in that photo. Before we get to it, if you know what video game that's from, drop it off in the comments. Here we just have an intro, just saying, hey, like, Star Wars is about to become a big thing again with trading cards. It's pretty much just giving you the heads up. And it's giving the editor here, Bob Woods, he's just like, Star Wars is a big part of me. It was a big part of my, what I was growing up, my interests. We've been lucky enough to work with Topps and Lucasfilm to make this magazine. This is amazing stuff. He's like, doesn't matter if you're 41 or 14. Unfortunately, I don't meet either of those age brackets. That's really unfortunate. But yeah, it's a lot there. And what's hot at the time also, if you take a look at here, anime is becoming a big thing. Dark Horse Comics, Star Trek Next Generation. It's all cool. Look at that. I think Ray Cameron just hit it on the head there. Look at that. Wing Commander Hamill. Beautiful. Beautiful stuff. All right. So here we go. We got everything. Like, hey, this is a heads up. This is what's coming. Special edition is a go. This is the first official announcement of the Star Wars Special Editions getting a re-release out in theater with updates, cut scenes, talking about how they're going to be using with recent, what is it? They're going to use in blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they're going to employ such recent films from Jurassic Park, The Mask, and Forrest Gump. So they're talking about ILM and how they're starting to use all that CGI, which will eventually completely take over the industry and not only destroy, film sets and props and makeup, but just everything in general. CGI ruined everything, and this was the start of it. But here we also talk about model kits that are coming out, wide vision cards. That was a thing for a little bit. I don't know if anyone remembers those. They did all of that. And it was, and in fact, they're the only card series I can think of that actually did wide vision. And they were just really long cards. They were kind of cool. I think they're all right. And I think they did it for a lot of stuff. There it is. Wing Commander 3, Mark Hamill at his best, as Ray Cameron stated. Talking about all the other stuff that he's been doing voice acting for as well, including, there's my boy, the Joker from Batman Animated Series, which is the best. And pretty much talks about how his career as a voiceover artist, has been keeping him busy, and he's still doing things and was still keeping busy, even though people might have not even have known. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. There we go. Science Fiction Book Club. If you're ever a reader of any kind of geeky magazine, you saw these ads. Let me know if anyone ever ordered any books from here. I'm curious, and I would love to know. The Superman, the Life and Death of Superman novelizations in there. Courtship of Princess Leia, you can see up there. Those beautiful Drew Struzan Star Wars covers. You can't beat that. What else is coming? Well, we've got a lot of stuff coming from Applause. We've got collector's plates. New trading cards are coming, and they're coming in nice tin cases. We've got more books on the making of Star Wars, including the art of Star Wars. And this is for the art of Return of the Jedi. And I think by this time, art of A New Hope and the art of Empire Strikes Back have already come out at this point. This is, so now they're promoting Return of the Jedi. Or maybe they're just promoting all three. I can't remember if all three came out or if they staggered them. However, we haven't had like a release. We've had like Star Wars art books come out of the original trilogy, but we've never had all the concept art come out since the 90s in another book. Uh, pretty pretty wild stuff. Like that's a long time too. You'd think it would be time for another art of book. Maybe get a nice big hardcover like they did the prequel books. Those books are amazing. If anyone has them, yeah, let me know because I have them too. I think they're the best. The Ray Cameron here again. The episode 1 wide vision set was awesome. Used to buy those tins that had 6 packs of cards in them and the exclusive card per tin. It's crazy how well I remember those as well. Uh uh these pewter chess sets. This always to me looked incredibly heavy. I don't know if anyone ever ordered one of these, and I'm curious if these were like bigger than your like D&D characters. Were they a little smaller? I'm assuming they were bigger. Never seen one of these in person. After all the collector shows and Star Wars celebrations I've been to, I've never seen one. Has me curious if anyone ever, ordered one. So if you ever did, let show it. To take it to group therapy, take photos of it. Let's see it. More stuff coming. The Galaxy Art Book, the sequel. That Galaxy Art Book would also turn into Star Wars Galaxy trading cards. They've even got more cards coming. Like I said, this is all prep. Everything you see here is prep. Nothing has been released yet. This is all just this whole first bit is just announcements telling you, yo, save your money. We've got those weird 3D posters, which make me think of Mallrats every time. And as Ray Cameron already called out the Star Wars Bendums line, they were before we got that Power of the Force, Bendums were the only new things you could get. And what I find really funny is for the promotional photo, they used a vintage Darth Vader collector's carrying case for the original figures. So I find that kind of cool. Here we go. There's those metal cards that were just mentioned right over here on the next page and a page earlier as well. Here you go. Start ordering. It's right there. Now we get a quick write-up on. They do this in every issue of the magazine. Whoever the cover artist is, they talk about it. They talk about the artist. They interview them. They kind of ask them, hey, like, what have you been working on? How has Star Wars inspired you and your artwork? And they go through all the comics that they've done, or that Ken Stacy's done. There's Ken Stacy up there. That's probably up here in beautiful British Columbia. He doesn't live too far away, which is actually kind of cool, and actually has some breakdowns here at the top of from the pencil sketches all the way up to the inks, which I think is just really, really cool. And here it kind of shows his other comics and his other work. So just in case you've never seen it, I thought that was always pretty cool. And look at that, some of his Mars Attacks work, right? Super cool stuff. Very like he's even at this point in time here, Ken Stacy was very well known for his science fiction work. It all looks beautifully just airbrushed and digital before it was digital. And here we get a nice, beautiful splash page from him as well. Luke shooting Womp Rats back when his T-16 Skyhopper back home. Apparently a port in the Death Star no bigger than one of those. And when you think about it, we saw a Womp Rat and what? Trying to attack Pelimoto, and those things are pretty small, and he still hit that target. So the Force is good with you. Tagar Brew. Now, here we go. We're getting into expanded universe stuff, because what happened before all the toys and before everything got relaunched, like now we're starting to get into novelizations. So again, this is prepping you for more stuff that is coming, just more novelization stuff, and as well as it's also prepping you for the role-playing game. So for the tabletop role-playing game as well. Again, more statues. Who ordered these statues? Who ordered these chess sets from these magazines? I have no idea. Yes, Jay, this is Ryan's little solo show that he's doing. Welcome. And happy Canadian Thanksgiving. But yeah, if anyone has ever ordered these statues, and again, they look big, they look heavy. You got to remember this is all before Hot Toys as well. And you know what? We'll do more issues of these later on, and we're going to eventually get to the precursor of what became Gentle Giants and what became Hot Toys. Wait, hold on. Jay from Geek Dad Life. I had one of these little they were little? They don't strike me as little. But that's the power of advertising. Look at that. New cinema cast sculptures. Look how that sounds so legit. Oh, hang on. Something's trying to call me. I'm just going to hang that up. Hang on. Sorry. Hanging up on you. Okay, there we go. They're probably going to try and call back. Yeah. So now, sorry about that. I'll have to fix that for a future show. More beautiful Drew Struzan art. How great is that? These are, yeah, again, now we're just getting more into novelizations. Here is actually, they're selling you on a new novel coming out. So again, they're talking about Timothy Zahn, all that stuff. Again, more talking about artists, talking about writers, just getting you all prepped and ready to go. Here's your, there you go. Everyone, sign up for Star Wars Galaxy Magazine quarterly. The, the worst Star Wars novel ever. It's yeah, there's a reason I kind of skimmed through that a little bit. It's yeah, I did read it. It didn't hook me right away, but that's okay. But now they start to introduce you to the team who's making Star Wars video games at LucasArts. So like I said, this whole entire magazine, all this is a prep guide. It's an introduction, who's who's doing what's coming. And this is it is quite amazing stuff. So we get through, hey, the Lucasfilm we're working on a little thing called Dark Forces. Any of us of a certain vintage will remember this. Yeah, and it was a really fun game. If anyone ever had a PC, that was it. And I mean, look at that beauty of a computer, right? Dawn Post helmet, right? Like it screams 90s, and it's so good. And here we get the advertisement for Dark Horse. Again, super exciting stuff. Tales of the Jedi, something that's coming back, which then they're now retrofitting for the Dave Filoni verse, I guess you could say, the Filoni side of Star Wars. And they're kind of retrofitting that. And look at that beautiful Adam Hughes Hutt Slayer Leia cover for Return of the Jedi comic book that's coming out. So, well, I guess it already did. This would have been 1994. But it's, again, all the stuff that's coming out to prepare you and get you set up and ready for 1999. It's all just a big 5-year push to just remember Star Wars. And now here we go. Now we're going to go right from that advertisement straight into the article about the Star Wars comic books. Again, it's introducing you to who's who. It's introducing you to who Dark Horse is. Some people might not know. Some people still might be just like, well, Batman and Spider-Man show up eventually, right? We start getting into Dark Empire. They start to, started kind of explaining what's kind of been going on in the comics a bit and what's about to come out. And here's the crazy part. This little part here, this little chunk of a segment, that's your checklist. That's every Star Wars comic from Dark Horse that has come out at that point. It's about to, like I said, this is all about to explode. This is a very short list. This is pretty much their way of saying you got time to still grab all of this and catch up. Because I think even in here at some point too, they still talk about the novels and comics being canon. Sound familiar? Correct. Because Disney's doing the same thing, and they're already retconning their books. They have already retconned their comics. It's kind of funny how, and and when we're being told this back in 94, and then sure enough, like what, 20 years later, 15 years later, some giant corporation buys it and sells you it's not canon anymore. You can see why people who love the comics and love the novels, the expanded universe as it was, and then being told what you loved is no longer canon. It doesn't matter. Make your own canon. Pick the fruit off the tree that you want to eat and enjoy it. That's how I see about it. Smock damn. This is the best time to be a Star Wars fan. You know what? It was a lot of fun. It it yeah, like the hype was real. Yeah, I don't even know how else to even say that. The hype was real. We all got very excited about Star Wars at this time. And here we get a preview. Here you go. This is what to expect from the comics. A Droids comic, which still it's weird. It feels very much like their cartoon, just the way how they're drawn and the colors and the simplicity of it. But it feels there's something very charming about 90s Star Wars comics because they they were still very Star Wars, but you know how you watch A New Hope and you watch uh, just the original trilogy in general, you could tell that's late 70s, early 80s, but in space. And the comics to me are always like you could tell this is the early to mid 90s, but in space. And this totally did it for me. I loved it. And you got to remember too, like the comics introduced a lot of characters that eventually showed up in the prequels, and they also eventually showed up in the Clone Wars animated. Now we get into the magic making machine. So now we're getting into the visual effects and just the effects of Star Wars. Again, it's a reintroduction for the fans. Yo, this is who these people are. This is what they do. These are the props they make. This is the stuff they've worked on. And let's not ignore this awesome Micro Machines advertisement stuck up there in the top right corner. I have this Darth Vader playset, the head that cracks open, and it's the carbon freezing chamber, and the duel area for Luke and Darth Vader is one of the best things ever. But that's just nostalgia talking for sure. And again, more advertisements for this magazine. Yes, there's been a lot, if you probably noticed, but it was pretty cool getting to read about again ILM. Again, this is a Lucasfilm. This is an official Lucasfilm magazine, so I think they were still doing bantha tracks and all that kind of stuff on the side. And this magazine will eventually turn into Star Wars Collector magazine because it is more collector focused than even movie news focused. Like you'll notice it big time as we go through this series of magazines. There's actually only 13 issues of this as well. Then it becomes Star Wars Galaxy Collector for 8 issues. Then it's gone, and then that's when we kind of focus on Star Wars Insider. But yeah, so there's a quick brief history on what's coming. Now let's get into more merch, right? Applause, drinking cups, ceramics. They don't make ceramic nothing anymore, do they? Like, can you order ceramics for anything? Like, I am super curious about that. If anyone knows if you can get like, ceramic Grogu's, let me know. But that was definitely something that was a big thing in the 80s. There's a ceramic music box of Cy Snoodles and Max, or I think it might be of just Max Rebo, but I think it might be the entire band as well. Again, ceramics and molded soaps. That was a thing in the 80s. What's this? From Grosecki here. You can get cheaper versions at Walmart during the holidays with hot cocoa. Oh, must be an American thing. Definitely not here. But here we go. More ceramics. There's another music box with the Ewoks. There's a whole collection of 3PO ceramic 3PO frames and household items. So there's like 3PO scissors, that very classic 3PO tape dispenser where you pull the tape from his crotch. There's this picture frame. I think there's another one that goes the other way as well, the long way. Really interesting. So again, here ceramic mugs. I know Applause sent out a bunch of them. It's really interesting that they managed to write 3 pages. Well, with all the photos and stuff kind of taking up the space, I guess technically really 2 pages or a page and a half about ceramics. And on top of that too, like they go through here at the end, like, hey, these go for 55 to 115. I can't imagine like something being 100 and 115 in the 90s. That's like the equivalent of, $500, right? It's it's absolutely insane. And they talk about Muppets in here, like all the ceramic stuff for that as well. So they do kind of dabble in just kind of like what everything went through, which I think is kind of cool. So this is 1994. This here is telling you about uh, the internet and kind of what's coming. So the next couple pages are what to expect and how Star Wars plans to utilize the internet. When I read this, it was kind of crazy how accurate they were. How to even say it? I know I compared it to Simpsons in the description where they nailed it. Like they kind of talk about like, hey, this is a galaxy of users. Every household is eventually going to be using the internet, even though you don't know what it is yet, and it's 1994. They're already like, you better get it because everyone's going to need it because you're going to be watching movies on it eventually. They were right. We now live in a very much on-demand streaming society, hooked up to the internet, talking about how you're going to be collecting books and cards and comics via the internet. Again, they called that. You'll be ordering licensed products and doing your shopping through the internet. Correct. Uh, why Star Wars? Star Wars was kind of one of the first to have like StarWars.com exclusives. Right? Remember, exclusives are not a new thing. I know we all hate them. But exclusives are not a new thing. And I remember StarWars.com, the Star Wars Collectors Club and all that. They all had their own exclusives. I mean, that's how I got Ula, was through StarWars.com. Like I guess that's technically my first online purchase ever. Not just for fans online. It's just like, that's why magazines like this exist. So don't worry. And it's funny because magazines are slowly going out, even though Star Wars Insider still exists. But it is kind of wild how they talk about like, you're going to need it. Everyone's going to be using it, and you're going to be using it for everything. This is the future. They were right. Look at us now. Here I am on the internet going through a magazine. We we are very it's come to this point where now you have to, if you want to find old magazines and read them, you have to put them on the internet. And then it's even telling you here, like, hey, you need to get hooked up. Here's a list of places that you can go and call that will get you set up. America Online, CompuVerse, Delphi, Genie, right? I don't think any of these exist anymore at all. But they just like, here's a 1-800 number. They'll hook you up. And they even say, if you tell the representative to mention Tops, or comic publisher forums, go to Tops, right? They're already telling you, like, check out these websites. These are going to be like, these are news groups. Remember news groups? Insane. Awesome. Jimmy, welcome to the Toy Anxiety member. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you're really enjoying what we're putting out here. But it is absolutely wild that they had like, here, type in these long these long website addresses for to check out these news groups, and you can be like, this is where you can talk about science fiction, fantasy, and horror stuff. insane. Like this stuff was all these kind of like forums and news groups were already existing in 1994. And by 1998, 99, a majority of households will have the internet. And then by 2000, 2001, everybody's got the internet. You know what? Maybe I should start that. You know what? I don't have access to the uh YouTube page, so I'm sorry. Bots are going to just invade the chat here for a little bit. I can't ban anybody. I do not have said power. Oh, maybe I do. Hang on. I can do it. Bang! Look at that. Bots are blocked. And they got a little trivia thing here at the end, which you can also fill out and win prizes. Right? You can win a lithograph of the cover from Gwen Stacy. Gosh, I got to get work off my brain. Ken Stacy. Uh, you know, the Darth Vader stuff. Like that is so freaking cool. And here we go, another ad for the art of Star Wars Galaxy 2. You'll see how they like promote ad, we're going to do a write up on it, ad. They did a really awesome job, and again, there's that ad for those collector's plates that also had an article. And there it is. And then here it gives you the heads up on what's coming out in January 1995. And you know what? We'll do this again in a couple weeks. We'll go through issue 2. Yes, I did buy every one of these magazines just so I could do this. And a big shout out to Cartoonist Kayfabe. They do this with Wizard magazines. And then I thought, man, I bet you somebody's doing this with Star Wars. Nobody was doing this with Star Wars. I decided, hell, I'll do it with Star Wars. Right? Hang on. We're just going to... And there we go. Sorry. Had to block another one. Did you keep the posters? You know what? Some of these I had to buy off eBay or at comic shows. They were already opened, didn't have the posters. However, the ones I did have from the ones that I bought, I did keep the posters. And I even have the posters for the Galaxy Collector magazine. So it has like the posters weren't like pictures of something. It was more of a collector's checklist, which was super, super cool. But yeah, here we go. Next issue, we have another 8-page comic adventure from Dark Horse, right? They talk about more artists, a bonus Millennium Falcon poster, Star Wars role-playing games. They're going to get really deep. They're going to dig deep into that. And continuing from there as well, they actually start putting out campaigns in the magazine that you can start. So it's like campaign starters in the magazine, which I actually think is pretty cool. The Kenner Star Wars toys you never saw, which we've all seen by now, which I think is kind of funny. But this is the first time we kind of see the unreleased Star Wars toys. The look back at newspaper comic strips, that was a thing. I think a lot of us forget about that. I know I do. The making of the Star Wars special effects, right? So here, continuing on that article from ILM about the early days, now they would get into Star Wars. Star Wars Online, how fans swap collectibles in cyberspace. You know what? I think maybe we'll do when we get to that article, we'll do a bigger, longer discussion. And I think it would be a lot of fun to talk about how fans, obviously we all still love going to toy shows and swap meets and all that other kind of stuff, but 1994, 95, collectibles in cyberspace, how do you trust people? Well, you can't even trust people now. I think that's why they have so many protection plans. Smock Dam, thank you so much for becoming a member. Thank you so much. I'm happy you're enjoying this. Maybe a different background. Maybe I get the Boba Fett posters. My ex-girl, your ex-girlfriend's kept it. They're lucky. Yeah, I could share pics if ever needed, dude. Yeah, I might just ask about which posters they have. I have what is it? I have another Star Wars Galaxy magazine that's just Princess Leia in her Hut Slayer bikini. I think I have that one packed away somewhere. They had ones that were just like characters from comics. Oh gosh, man, they did all sorts of stuff. This magazine covered all the bases, especially for, and it was easy to back then. I mean, Star Wars was a lot more simple. Star Wars was a lot more contained. I mean, eventually the novels got out of control. Eventually the comics got out of control. Just much like the content now, even on Disney Plus, has kind of gotten out of control. But again, like I said, this was your prep guide. All this magazine did was say, hey, this is what's coming up. Save your money. There's new movies. They don't, if you even notice, they don't even mention console gaming. So we're not even at like Super Nintendo, Super Star Wars yet. Like this is wild that they were even able to put out a magazine, at all with anything to do with Star Wars, but it was legit just made to remind people that like Star Wars exists and to, like I said, to get you ready to get on the internet, all that kind of stuff. That Leia isn't above the bed. That Leia is not above the bed. Abby, thank you for you could have came and joined and hung out with me, Abby. Craig knew I was doing this. But it's the golden age, but it's the golden age of Disney Plus. You know what? I can't deny that. I'm enjoying a lot of what they're putting out, even if what they're putting out is scooters that go really slow, and I still enjoy that as well. Right? So again, really cool magazine. If you can find any of these to pick these up, and you ever want to join in and follow along with me on this journey of Star Wars Galaxy magazines, you are more than welcome to. And yeah, otherwise, I'm a bit I'm jet lagged and jet lagged. What were you up to? I never saw anything online. But be sure to also, if you haven't subscribed to YHS Podcast, and you want to know why Abby is jet lagged and chilling, please check that out. I know they posted a video at some point in time today, so please check that out. Please also check out the Brother Podcast YouTube show, YHS on Monster Island. That's with Jay Key and Jacob Walsh. So be sure to check that one out. And on Wednesdays and the occasional Friday, we're starting to put out more content as well, like watch-alongs and stuff on my other channel, Gotham City Tonight. Myself and Lexi, we talk all things Batman. I just dropped on the weekend a whole kind of preview of what McFarlane's been doing at New York City Comic Con. Crazy amount of stuff. Again, there's a lot of stuff coming out. But back then, the 90s, there was a lot coming out. But man, we were just about, this ship was about to hit an iceberg. And we didn't sink. We smashed that iceberg. And it's funny, once Power of the Force 2 came out, they didn't even look back. Star Wars toys have been continuous and nonstop. As frustrating as modern collecting can be, nothing has slowed down Star Wars collectibles. Even outside of action figures, we're talking like Hot Toys. We're talking, you can now get, you were at one point you could buy oranges with BB-8 stickers on them. You know what I mean? Like we got crazy. So, yeah, you know what? That's it. That's all I have. Let's do this again in a couple weeks. Probably won't be the same time because today is a holiday Monday, and I was like, you know what? There's no better time to start it than now. And I'll come on here. Again, Jacob and Abby and Craig are always more than welcome to join me and hang out with me at any point in time. So who knows? Who knows? They might make a cameo appearance, drop in, stop by. Who knows? Want to talk about some Star Wars, some vintage Star Wars toys. However, yeah, that's it. Hope everyone has a good Canadian Thanksgiving. Hope everyone had a really good, chill Monday. I know Monday's first day of work can be grueling, especially if you had an amazing weekend at a con. Unless, of course, you don't work and you can just be jet lagged and chilled. So, oh, actually, I can't say that. I can't make a little like snide remark like that because Abby is working. Please check out her Instagram. Please check out her links. Go support her on her other endeavors as well so she can make that hustle and make that money because damn, and photos. People, you're not going to regret it. It's worth every dime you're going to spend. Yes, Abby, I'm plugging it. And you know what? Go support Abby because she needs more calico critters. And that's a fact. All right, everyone. You have a great day. I'm ending this now. Take care, and we'll see you again on issue number 2 of Star Wars Galaxy Magazine. Good night, everyone.